I want to share with you what the Lord spoke to me this morning, and it's a simple word called adapt. 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 Um, when Jesus sent his disciples out into the world, he said this: I am sending you among wolves, among wolves, lambs among wolves. There is no chance unless there's a miraculous protection or provision. Lambs among wolves, it's a slaughter. But why does Jesus say that I am sending you as lambs among wolves? So he's talking about Christians, believers, who are lambs redeemed by the blood of Jesus, sending them out to the world full of wolves who are under the influence of darkness. Still wonderful people God has created, yet to be born again, yet to be saved, yet to be redeemed, but because they're under the influence of darkness and wickedness, they've chosen sin. Jesus said, among wolves. Also, wolves represent the demonic realm as well. The demonic spirits that are out there controlling society, controlling politicians, controlling money, economy, controlling the media, controlling the businesses, controlling um, even the churches with religious spirits, sad to say, controlling education contents and deceiving people. So the wolves represent also the demonic realm and also people who are influenced by the demonic realm. Lamb represents the people of God who have been redeemed, bought by the blood, forgiven, cleansed, but innocent. Why doesn't Jesus send a lion out to the wolves, right? That would be fair game. But the way that Jesus wants to convert, change, and transform the world is not by force, but it's by love, truth, purity. It's by grace, it's by patience, it's by serving. Jesus came not to be served, but to serve, even as a King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, to transform people's hearts, not by force or threat or fear tactics, but by love and by truth and by self-sacrifice. Lambs among wolves. But the word Jesus spoke to me this morning was adapt, adapt, adapt to situations, adapt to culture, adapt to surroundings, not compromise. That's a totally different thing. Compromise means becoming like a wolf, doing the things of a wolf, saying the things of the wolves. No, Jesus is saying, adapt within the system and become light and salt. Depending on what position you are in. If you're the leader, the top leader of a group or a department, you can be light, you can shine, you can display truth, honesty, righteousness, justice, serving, not being proud, but being humble as you're serving the people below you. Or you can be salt if you are just a regular person under a system that's very corrupt, that's decaying. You can become salt. You can marinate in there. You can quietly send forth the righteousness of God, the truth, through your words, through your prayers, through encouragement to your co-workers. Adapt. People don't like change, but change is coming. That's why adapting is all the more important for believers in this age. The Lord said change is coming, and He's going to shake the church because church doesn't want to change. People don't want to change unless there is discomfort, unless there is threat, unless there is pain. They just want to maintain the status quo. People are not happy with change. As a missionary, going to a different environment was a great challenge because everything changes. Every single thing changes, from the food that you eat, from the people that you meet, from the culture, the language, just even the very place that you live is different from how you used to live. For India, it was a left side driving instead of right side driving. That was a big change. I didn't like it. Nobody likes change, but God sometimes to promote us, to take us to a new beginning, doing something different. He says, forget the past because I'm doing a new thing. So don't stick to your old ways. Don't insist on your old culture habits. I'm doing a new thing. So sometimes Jesus shakes us with change, shakes us. So when change comes, we need to adapt. We need to adapt to what the Lord wants to do. You know, the greatest change I felt in the church in my lifetime, last maybe 30, 40 years in the church, was instruments and the style of worship. Now, preaching hasn't changed much, and the liturgy hasn't really changed much. I'm talking about the Korean church. I mean, they still start with the Lord's Prayer. They still start with, encourage this day. They still sing hymns, some sing gospel songs. They intermix this liturgy so it adapts to the people. But the greatest change was the instruments, because for hundreds of years, we only had the organ or the piano, not keyboards, guitar, drums, or electric or bass. So when God wanted to do something new, when God wanted change, he started shaking the church. How? Because people who are hungry for change would be shaken out of the religious church, or those who don't want to change, and flock to organizations or worship groups that would do new things, like bring guitars, bring keyboard, bring electric guitars or bass, bring singers up in the front, which wasn't so in the olden days in the Korean church. So when people were shaken out, then the churches started to wake up. Oh, we need to change. We need to adapt to what's coming. And that's like the prime example of change within the church. Of course, a lot of religious spirits resisted as well, but some churches just didn't want change. They were happy with just an organ or a piano. But when God was bringing a new sound, a new style of worship, because God always do new things. He's very creative. He brought instruments that were used in rock music and were used in heavy metal, used in secular music that wasn't really doing much. It was just appealing to the soul. And the very people that they were yelling and shouting at and idolizing, the singers in the front stage were not even personally connected with people and didn't do much for them. I'm saying they're not personally beneficial to the people who've paid the ticket to go and yell and shout and idolize this person. So God became very creative. So he took those instruments and the way of people wanting to sing and express their heart out into the church. And church resisted initially, but those who were pioneers of this embraced it and say, oh, we want to worship God who loves us, who did everything for us in this manner. And missions organizations like Youth and Mission, CC's Campus Crusade for Christ, and OM, Operation Mobilization, start to embrace this kind of worship. And youngsters loved them, loved to worship in this manner. Change. They adapted quickly. A lot of the churches didn't, and it took them time until God shook them. And people were shaken out of the membership in the churches. They were shifting. Then they started to wake up. Oh, we need to adapt to change. I'm just giving you an example of adapting to change God is bringing. I'm not saying compromising with the changing cultures of the world. Like, oh, now we need to accept people who are transgender as preachers, as ordained pastors. No, I'm not talking about wicked, sinful cultural change that the devil is trying to bring to the earth. No, I'm talking about adapting to change God is bringing to the earth. Like there's going to be great change in the currency, our monetary system, and we need to adapt to that. Political change, when suddenly, like in America, political Big changes come. Some people like it, some people don't. Most Americans love it, but some people don't. They want the old ways, old administrative ways that's been doing for I don't want to say hundreds of years, maybe 100 years. Um, just, uh, just, just bigger governments, um, and that's not what the current administration Trump is doing. He's trying to scale the government down so people have more freedom, people have more money to spend, people are less taxed, and this is wonderful change. But some Christians even oppose that. Some churches oppose it. They don't want change, but just wait, because they'll be shaken. And when they're shaken, then they'll eventually come and adapt to that change. Change is good when it's initiated by God. We just need discernment. But I want to say to you that this morning, God says, adapt. Adapt to the changes that are coming. Some changes God is bringing to the earth. Some, the devil is trying to bring. We don't need to embrace that. But when you're living in a system that's, depends on what country you're living in, actually. When you're living in Iran, when you're living in North Korea, you need to adapt. You need to really be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. But I think what the Lord is trying to say today about adapting is not specifically that situation. It's about change that He's trying to bring to the earth, to the monetary systems, to the political realm, even to the church. He wants to do things differently because He's always doing new things. He's a God of creativity. He's got wonderful ideas. He's not boring. So don't hold on to your old wine. But when God says, I want to do a new thing, embrace it and adapt. God bless you. Shalom, Basem, Yeshua Mashiach, Shalom.